Hello, and welcome to the Merri-Cast, the show that puts you on the fast track to business confidence. When you become an entrepreneur, it's important to know why you're doing it and what you want to achieve. You need to have a mission and a purpose. This week's guest explains why this is essential, probably more effectively than anyone else I've interviewed. So joining me in this episode is the fantastic Masami Sato, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and founder and CEO of a global giving movement connecting businesses and charity organisations all around the world. What's that all about? Well, I'll let her tell you the story.
So I run an initiative called B1G1, and it's a unique name. It actually stands for the idea of buy one, give one, which was the origin of our work. So what happened was being an entrepreneur, like I started my very first business like 22 years ago. And I started the food business at that time because I was passionate about food, just like all the other entrepreneurs who have passion in different things. So, we all decided to start a business. Then what happened was over the years when my business was developing, and the primary reason why I started my business was because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to create a great business that added great value, but at the same time, I wanted to give back and I wanted to help people who didn't have the same kind of privilege, like children who don't have access to nutrition or a safe home. So that was the reason why I started a business. But then I found it really difficult because, as a busy business in people, we all have lots of priorities, and sometimes like making a difference or doing something good, or that gets pushed to the end of the list on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
We end up saying like, oh, one day when we become really successful or more sales or more, time, like when we have more time, or so we end up delaying, right? So then one day this simple idea came to me, and then I thought, what if instead of trying to do big things one day, we did something small, but did every day? And then in my own food company, because we were selling frozen, packaged frozen meals, that was like environmental, organic, and all that healthy. But we thought, for every meal we sold, then we wanted to give a meal, like allocate a small portion of proceed to provide a meal to street children who didn't have access to, healthy food. And so when we started to implement the concept of this micro impact, adding micro impact to our work on a day-to-day basis, I realized that there's so much power to this idea. And then eventually, after a while, I realized that actually in the world, there are lots of other caring businesses and people, who had a different aspiration and desire. So we thought, what if this way of making an impact was so easy to do? And all the businesses participated in doing so together, then we could actually transform all kinds of problems together. So I sold my company then in Australia, then moved to Singapore to start B1G1 as a global initiative. And today B1G1 works with thousands of businesses, and they have together created more than 310 million giving impacts so far. So that's our work.
That is, well, that's just a mind-blowing first answer for a start. So thank you for that. Can I take you back though to the moment just before you had that idea, which resulted in B1G1? What sort of person were you at that point? You ran a food company, and did you see yourself as an entrepreneur at that point? Was it just something you fell into? I'm just interested in before that moment, of inspiration.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Masami immediately before that moment. Where were you going in your life at that point? What were you hoping to do before this amazing idea came along?
Well, actually, right before, instead of like talking about right before the idea came to me, I think I want to go back a little bit backward, like to the early days of my life, because I would have never, when I was growing up in Japan, I would have never imagined that one day I would be somewhere outside of Japan, and running an initiative or business or organization that work with a lot of people, from around the world. So I would have never imagined that because I was a very shy and quiet child growing up. and I was never sure about how to express myself. And so, but interestingly, like my grandparents used to run a family business in Tokyo. And so growing up, I saw them running their own family business. So that was kind of one influence over my entrepreneurial idea. And then another thing that impacted me was the traveling time I had in my youth. So after I finished studying, I became this global backpacker, traveling around the world without the ability to even be able to speak English. So during that time, I started to see like the wonder of the world that there are so many different cultures and people looked and seemed different, but we had so much in common. And then also I started to be painfully aware of the fact that there are so many people in the world who just didn't have even access to very basic resources or opportunities. So I always wondered, like, why things were happening and why we were all doing what we were doing. And so I was very curious. So that kind of like naturally took me to the entrepreneurship time. But the thing was, for me, the motivation of starting a business wasn't, really just about like starting a business to make money. And for me, it was about doing something to contribute to the people who had very little. And that was driven by my feeling about being a parent myself. And so I had a young kid at that time when we started to be one-to-one. So, so for me, like being a parent and then being an entrepreneur was the status of me just before we started this initiative. But I've always been very curious and wondered, about why of everything that was happening in the world. And today, I think that is still probably the same. I like to learn.
So there was a bit of a background influence with the family business, sort of your grandparents. There was a bit of wanderlust and sort of traveling around and seeing the world with open eyes. And then, of course, when you became, a mum, then obviously you're thinking, as we all do when we become parents, you start to see life through a different perspective. But one thing I wonder is that when you had this idea for B1, G1, and you sort of suddenly thought, why don't we make one and then give one and so on. Now that's a great idea, but there's so many people have great ideas and then they don't go anywhere, or they just stay on a piece of paper or in your head, or they disappear from your head and never sort of seen again. What made this one difference? Was it you? You mentioned your curiosity. Was it you just couldn't, if you got an idea, you can't let it go and you can't let it go? I'm interested in what was it about you or the circumstance which made you think, actually, I'm going to push this and push this and push this?
So there are two parts to that. The first one was why I even in the first place started a business rather than just working for a company and, making living. That was, as I said, after I became a mom. And then what I realized for the first time at that time, because I really didn't have a really a happy childhood, like a fulfilled childhood, because I didn't really feel like we had enough time and connection within the family. My parents were very busy, so I didn't even plan to one day create a family at that time. But when I gave birth and then felt so connected with this little thing, I also thought about the children and the people I connected during my traveling time. And then I realized that actually my daughter was just a little bit lucky to be born in certain circumstance where, I wanted to do my best to make sure that she would have access to, all the opportunities and the happy life. But then I thought the other kids didn't have that. And if it was happening to my own child, then if everybody in the world said, we actually can't solve all of the problems, so we're not going to do anything, and sorry, then what happens? And so at that time, doing something more than just taking care of my family became very, really important to me. And so I took the opportunity to start a business. So taking action. And then the next moment is when the idea of B1G1 came to me. And then why did we persist and pursue this endeavor was also again the same, right? Because the reason why we started the business wasn't just, oh, let's start a business and make money. We had a mission and also purpose behind why we were doing what we were doing. So when I saw the opportunity to really create this, to make this a reality, but rather than thinking about this is what I do, thinking about this is what we can do together with a lot of great business people out there, I felt it was privilege to be able to take action. And somehow, when we started to talk about it, when we started to meet with people, even though in the early days there was nothing really, we didn't have the great system, the platform that we have today, or we didn't have a lot of projects. Today we have hundreds of projects that we work with, but then in the early days we just had an idea. But somehow when we talked about the idea, we just connected with some amazing people, and I guess those are the people who empowered and encouraged us to take action and keep going. And
I mean, I'm really interested in this idea of your mission and your purpose, and and I think most people can see, if they read even a little bit about B1G1, can see that strong sense of mission and purpose. But also, you've said that, when you were younger, you were shy and you were quiet. And did that mission and purpose sort of carry you through, if you lumble? Because there must have been some people who said, I'm not sure we can do anything to help you, or people who knocked you back and said, actually, no, we can't do anything. Most people are kind and encouraging, but then again, that nothing may happen with some of those people as well. So was it the mission and purpose that carried you through, that helped you keep going, or was it easy because you so believed in the mission and purpose?
Well, I guess the first question about I was a shy child, but what drove me to actually do what I do today, I guess it's simpler. So what happened was when I couldn't communicate with others really well, when I was growing up in Japan, I was probably more worried about doing the right thing or saying the right thing to other people's perspectives. But when I lost the ability to communicate in my own language when I was traveling, and I was in all kinds of really vulnerable situations when I was traveling, right? So only thing you could do at that time, because you didn't have much money, you didn't have local knowledge or even the language to communicate in the right way, all I could do was to let go. And when I let go of the expectation to try to communicate properly and just be open and be grateful and, just enjoy the moment, that made the entire communication much more joyful. So I guess sometimes letting go could be the way forward, because when we don't feel confident, when we feel it's, we're not ready to start this, or this is a great idea, but there must be lots of people already working on this or doing this. So when we rationalize and then, start worrying and start thinking about things, or start always trying to do the things in the right, perfect way, so then we might never take action. But when we actually let go of that expectation and then think about, so, okay, for now, what will be the thing that I could do and we could do? And then to put that action in place, or, connect with one person, talk with another person. So sometimes letting go can be very, very powerful in that sense, more than sense of mission and purpose, even though those are very important things as well.
And what is it that, in spite of the things that we've been talking about, mission and purpose, there is the day-to-day of running a business and so on. Were there things that you thought, this is easy and I'm a natural at doing this, or were there things that you found, really tough. I mean, for me, it's things like,
Mm.
doing the accounts and, and doing some of the numbers and so on. But are there things that
Yes.
where you think, yeah, I'm really strong at this, and other areas where you think, yeah, I might get somebody else to do that?
Yeah, of course, because we are all different. So, then that's the magic of it, that we naturally come with different interests, qualities, skills, or, natural personality and competency. So, the reality is that no single person can be good at everything or enjoy doing everything. So when we have that perspective and understanding and being okay with that, then we really value and treasure other people, right? Like who are actually good at doing the things we are not good at doing, and then they even enjoy doing those things as well. So the more we understand better about our strengths, and then do more of that, but also finding people who are good at other things, and then really like appreciate them and then let the other people take care of the things that they are good at doing, then that would naturally make everybody's work more enjoyable as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure you answered the question really. You said what I was going to say. What were you not so good at then?
Oh well, there are lots of things. Lots of things, like, well, I guess like the things that I love the most is being creative and thinking about ideas, and but what I may not be really good at could be like following through, like with the processes, on the day to day, and managing things properly, like to completion, and so in those kind of areas, it's great to have other team members
Yeah. Yeah.
who actually are very really good at doing those things.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
great.
totally, yeah, own the shortcomings.
No, no. Well, we've all got them. It's just I think it's an encouragement though to people maybe listening to this show to know that we are all, there is this image out there, certainly in the British media, that if you do entrepreneurs, then you're very outgoing, you're extrovert, you're good at everything. And actually the truth is not like that at all. That there's lots of introverted entrepreneurs. There's lots of people
Yeah.
who are not very good at some things, but they recognize when they're not good at certain things, and they get people in to sort of help them in those areas. I mean, let's focus on the things that you're really, really good at. You're talking about the creativity side of things. I think a lot of people would be interested in the area of creativity. I'm in my business is all around content creation, so I have a lot of views on getting ideas and keeping ideas and sort of nesting. Do you, when you have a great idea, and I'm sure you've had many great ideas since the original, great idea of B1 G1, but what do you do? Do you find a way to sort of keep it? Do you write it down somewhere? Do you have a little scrapbook of ideas that you kind of go to? I'm sure listeners would be interested to know is what do you do to sort of nurture ideas to make the business better or to head off in new directions?
And it's depending on the type of ideas. Like sometimes, like I get the most spontaneous like ideas when I'm running because I like to run in the morning normally, and then when so that those kind of ideas are something that I might write down somewhere and then park it somewhere, or go and then talk about with somebody, bounce off the ideas. But then there are different types of ideas too, which is like day-to-day improvement, or solving the problems, specific problems. So those would be more about like, creating opportunities to listen to people of the challenges that they face, and then coming up with a better way to improve like all sort of little things surrounding us. Because if we make lots of small improvements, then that would create a greater, improvement and impact. So they don't need to be a massive idea or game-changing idea, but it could be a lot of little ideas. So those one, like I might capture it in different areas. So yeah, so there are storage of ideas.
Okay.
But then sometimes, yeah, it's easy to have a lot of ideas and hold on to it, but don't act. So it's also important that sometimes, like when the idea comes, then we just find a way to bounce off ideas and put into action
Yeah. Okay. Now, we want to give our listeners the confidence they need to succeed. I mean, is there a particular single message, or you could have two or three messages if you like, that you would give to them about how, somebody who is starting up a business of any sort really should sort of bear in mind, and that would give them the confidence that they need to make a success of it?
And I'm sure like that in terms of entrepreneurial success or business success, there will be whole range of recommendations and advice, right? People can get, and all the content about how to succeed with digital marketing or fundraising, or so. Yeah. I'm sure, like technically, there are lots of great expert recommendations, so people can research that. But for me, like if we are to nail down to really simple, essence of what makes the biggest difference, then I guess for me, enjoyment is the one that matters probably the most, because when we were trying to make something work, it's easy to get caught up in the execution, and then probably we even if we are doing sometimes really good things, we might stop enjoying the work. So it's easy at the beginning to be excited about the business journey, but if we are to continue to do something in the long run, then the one thing that matters really a lot and almost the most is the fact that we actually take the joy and the sense of meaning in what we do, because it's a long haul, like day-to-day problems will come up. And, even when we once succeed, in a sense, there could be new obstacles ahead of us. So it is really, for me, about really understanding why we are doing what we are doing, and then to align with that, so that on the day-to-day basis we can feel more connected to that and feel the sense of meaning and purpose, as well as the joy of doing things together with people we are surrounded by.
Yeah. Okay, that's a brilliant answer. Can I ask you, do you, in your own sort of development on your own journey, and to make sure that you keep on enjoying what you're doing, do you have a sort of mentor or a coach? Sometimes we talk to listeners and they're asking the questions about finding mentors and coaches. Is that something you have used yourself to get further inspiration?
Yes, I do. I didn't for really quite some long time that I was just really busy doing things, and then I didn't try to have mentors. But then through the journey, I learned a lot of people actually talked about the mentors that they had and how they impacted you. So I actually today I regard some of the amazing business people as my mentors, and then try to have a kind of periodic conversations with them. And sometimes I might have a really specific questions to them, but other times it could be just regular check-in, because just by listening to their their ideas and experiences of those people that I really admire as great leaders and business people, then I can learn so much more than just learning from existing contents, books, or so I definitely think mentors and the role models are very important to have.
Okay, and it's interesting. I found in my own experience that sometimes it's the act of you hear yourself talking about a challenge to a mentor, and just actually making it come out of your head and through your mouth and out into the outside world really helps, because you hear yourself saying it and you think, well, actually, I'm not sure I'm right about that, or maybe I should think about it before the mentor's actually even said anything. And then the mentor, sort of comes back and gives that alternative view of things, and is objective. So it's fascinating to have that sort of mentor experience. Now, let me move on and say, what are you up to now? Because I know the world of B1G1 is ever evolving. Is there anything that you're working on or want to talk about now that you're particularly excited about?
I think now, being at the beginning of the year, is a great time to, think about what's ahead of us. And I feel like the, previous year, 2022, was probably the one of the toughest years I've ever experienced in my entrepreneurship journey, actually. So, and there were lots of learnings. And part of that is because also the world is going through like a really interesting and very, very important time right now. And I guess like what we can make happen together collectively moving forward is actually really critically important in ensuring that we would have a good future, and for our next generations to have. So I feel like 2023 is going to be a really important and great and exciting year, because with the things that we learned, we can actually start to make things in a new ways. So I think that, I'm very curious about what everybody is thinking and feeling at this point of time, and what they have in plan. Like, you might have a great plan for 2023, but yeah, we definitely really like looking forward to this year.
Okay, great. If Masami, if people want to find out more about you, I went online and I sort of saw your TED speaking and various things. But if other people want to find out more about you, or get in touch with, or find out more about B1G1, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so if you are interested in adding extra sense of meaning and purpose, and also great impacts to your business, like if you are from a company, then you can go to b1g1.com. And or if you want to personally like connect with me, or follow me, or then LinkedIn is the place where I spend more time in. So you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, that's great. All that remains is for me to say, Masami, Sato, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Well, all our guests have had a unique story to tell, and Masami is no different. Her entrepreneurial journey is truly inspiring and stems from wanting to make a difference and giving back to others. To me, she was particularly brilliant at explaining the importance of micro impacts, how letting go can be the way forward, and why enjoyment of what you do is essential to your success in a business. Thanks so much, Masami. And thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate and review through your usual podcast provider. And if you want to find out more about the Merri-Cast or our business Merriborn Media, you can find us on LinkedIn or email me at trevor.meriden@merribornmedia.co.uk, or find me on LinkedIn. Don't forget to join us for our next episode. But until then, thanks for listening.